The truth is in Africa. I have a story for you guys, something I experienced tonight. Now, before I get into this story, I just want to share with you that something else I realized tonight was how all of my best mentors all happen to be black. I just found that incredibly interesting. As you guys know, I'm a Middle Eastern man. I'm not white, I'm not black. But all of my best mentors when it comes to women and success, like Mr. Jones, Warren Lance, Tariq Nasheed, they're all black. And I just thought that was a hilarious coincidence. I'm like, you know what? None of my mentors are European. They're all, of African descent. And I just found that extremely interesting. And another thing that happened today is basically I have a story for you guys. So I got I got like a new Eye of Horus gold chain today. So I wanted to give my old one to a friend of mine. So I texted him and I'm like, yo, man, I have a present for you. Are you home? He's like, yeah, I'm home. Come over. So I come to his house, right? To give him the necklace, right? It's my old Eye of Horus necklace. And when I get there, him and his girlfriend, I guess he has a new girlfriend, they're like laying in bed. And he tells me his girlfriend, now she practices Palo Mayombe, right? So she tells him, he told me right when I pulled up to the house, she instantly knew I was there, and she said, who's outside? And he said, a friend of mine. And she's like, I need to meet him. I want to meet him. Now, he comes out and I give him the necklace and he lights it. He's like, oh, cool, man. Awesome. Thanks for the necklace. He goes back inside and his girlfriend sees the necklace and touches the necklace. And she said, did he just give you that? Did the guy outside just give you that? And he's like, yeah. And she comes outside immediately. And I'm just kind of sitting out there like on the hood of my car. And she comes out and she just stares at me for like 10 seconds, smiling. And then she introduces herself to me. Um, and he was basically telling me, he was introducing the two of us to each other. And he was telling her how I'm into, the occult and stuff like that. And how I like to, I've been practicing witchcraft a little bit and stuff like that. And, me and her started getting to talking. And she said, you were definitely chosen for this. And she said the fact that we met tonight like this and the fact that you brought him this necklace with the Eye of Horus on it is no coincidence. And I started telling her how I've been trying to do witchcraft the European way. And she said basically the European way is bullshit, like, Wicca, paganism. She was telling me how, voodoo and hoodoo and Palo Mayombe and Santeria are more genuine versions of magic. And these are, like the African versions, and how the European ones are a distortion. And I told her that's very interesting because I found the same thing to be true, with medicine. The modern medicine, the Western medicine, pales in comparison to the African medicines, or, like the Dr. Sebi style of medicine. Um, and I told her how I've been trying to do magic I didn't give her the details of who this was for. And that basically I've been trying to help Mr. Jones with his court case, by doing magic. And I was basically telling her how, I've been doing magic and I've been attempting to make pacts with demons, so that I can, they can help him beat his court case. And she was basically telling me how that's a horrible idea, making pacts with demons. But she told me she could just tell by talking to me I've already had a spirit with me all along, so I don't need to make a pact with a demon. And how us meeting tonight was her opening the door for me. And she asked me a few more questions, and based on my answers, she said Palo Mayombe would be a much better route for you. It's what you were meant to do, not, Satanism or witchcraft. I told her how I attempted to make a pact with Lucifer a few days ago, and how I just, at the last minute, it didn't feel right. How I was getting these, I was getting these tingles on the back of my head 10, 15, 20 times. And she said that was the demon being right there behind you, nudging you to do it. And I said the reason I didn't sign the pact is because I couldn't get a verbal confirmation from Lucifer himself that this is what I'm meant to do. for me to, sign a pact like that, I really need to know that the spirit on the other end wants me to do that. And I didn't. And so, because I didn't hear anything, I didn't. Now, she told me he was there and he did want you to sign it. You just didn't know how to read the signs. She said it would have been horrible for you if you did sign that patch. She said your body could not handle the intensity that, a demon like Lucifer would bring to you. She said it would have driven you crazy. And I told her how the same night I refused to make the pact, I had a dream that I put a small dog in a washing machine and turned it on. Uh, and the dog, and this, of course, this is something I would never do in real life, but I put a dog in a washing machine in this dream, and I guess the dog drowned and suffered, but the dog was still alive when it came out of the washing machine. And when it came out of the washing machine, it was retarded and it was like running into walls and stuff. And it was fucked up after that. And she basically told me that would have been you if you had signed the pact with Lucifer. That's essentially what his energy would have done to your body. It would have distorted and destroyed you the same way you did to that dog in that dream. And I just found that incredibly interesting. It was just pretty amazing how the night I go to give my friend an Eye of Horus necklace, he happens to be dating a new woman who is into, Payo Mayombe, which is, I guess, sort of a form of voodoo. And she said, she'd be more than happy to open the door for me and teach me how to do that, and how that seems to be a much more natural path for me. She told me because of the pacts I attempted to make that I now have a few more demons hovering around me. She said, she told me you've been possessed your whole life. She said, I can tell by talking to you and by your habits. Like, I told her how every day I wake up at 5 p.m. and I'm up all night until about 8, 9 in the morning. That's when I feel comfortable going to sleep. She said, basically, you are drawn to the darker energies. She said you like to roll with the dark powers or the dark beings. And she said there's nothing wrong with being drawn to that energy. But where was I? I lost my train of thought. Shit. I had another point I was going to make. Basically how occultism or Satanism in the European sense and in the sense of making pacts with demons wouldn't have been right for me. How I've already had a sort of, I don't know if you call it a demon or a spirit that's been with me since birth. And I told her, she asked me if, she didn't even ask me. My buddy says, yeah, the thing about Itachi is he's always kind of spacing out. He's always in another world. He's never really there. He's never really in the moment. He's always not even in his head, but somewhere else. And she said that's a sign that he is possessed. But it's not a demon that is taking me in a negative direction. It's guiding me on a purpose towards something greater, towards serving a bigger purpose. So she said you don't need to make any pacts with demons or spirits because you've already had one with you since birth. She said a lot of demons and spirits, they gravitate towards more negative places like hospitals, graveyards. So she said it is somewhat common for a spirit or entity to attach itself to you from birth. So meaning, when you're born at the hospital, and a lot of sort of spiritual entities hang out in those places because they can possess babies, is what she told me. So she said if you seem worthy, like a worthy host, a spirit will possess you. And she said the spirit that possessed me doesn't seem to be a negative one, which is good. But she kind of smiled when she was talking to me as if she knew a lot more than she wanted to tell me. And I could just sense that, I don't know why I could sense this and she wouldn't admit this to me, but I could sense that she knew how my life was going to end or how my story or situation was going to end. And she's an older woman. She's maybe in her like late 40s or 50s or something, She's been practicing this stuff for like 20, 30, 40 years. And I could tell she knew a lot more about me than she wanted me to know because it might interfere with me learning things on my own and sort of this path on its own. But I don't know. I just found that extremely interesting. It seems like the truth really is in Africa. All of the ways I learned how to cure certain conditions I had, they came from the African style of healing. Even when it comes to learning magic, which is what I'm doing now, it's something I'm very interested in. Whenever I tried to study it the European way, or even, and I don't mean this in a racist way, but it's just my experience, whenever I try to study any sort of witchcraft from a white person, it just doesn't resonate with me, and it doesn't seem to get me the results I want. Um, I just seem to be pulled in a different direction, and at least for me, the truth seems to be in Africa, honestly. I just see better results from the people who practice voodoo and hoodoo versus the people who claim, practice paganism or witchcraft. It seems to backfire a lot more and fuck you up. It just doesn't seem to, I don't know, be beneficial in the end. So this is probably one of my weirder videos. I apologize if there isn't really a lesson or a message at the end of it. Maybe this is just something I needed to get out there. So, I don't know. If this video doesn't apply to you, if this isn't something you're into, witchcraft, or if my story doesn't apply to you, I apologize. Feel free to turn it off. But it's just like, what are the odds? I go see my buddy, multiple times a week. And what are the odds that this one night I have a present for him, and I go and I bring him this necklace, and this particular woman happens to be there, and she was almost so shocked, like, why is he giving you this, but she said, I don't know, she said my aura is very attractive, and if I keep practicing this, I can definitely go far. I got the vibe that she said, I mean, she told me, she said a lot of people are chosen to practice, magic, and to practice this form of magic or this form of voodoo. But she said not many people are called upon to actually go ahead and do it. So basically, I guess this sort of seed is planted in many people to have potential to go far and to activate sort of their third eye. But the spirits or the powers that be don't call all of the people that they implant that sort of seed in. They only call very select ones, and she said you happen to be one of those people that have been called on. I told her that I've always had this strong craving, this strong sort of pain inside me, desiring to be a part of this society ever since I was a kid. I told her the way a man would love a woman and crave a woman is the way I've craved and been drawn to the spirits, and have always wanted to be in sort of a family relationship, I guess, with those spirits or those powers that be. And she said that's one of the signs that you are called to do this. I told her I've achieved money, I've had women, I've had all of these earthly, superficial statuses, and they've never meant anything to me. I've always craved, I've always longed for something deeper. She was basically just telling me how you are, you're meant to do this. And she said, I'm not meant to be your mentor, but I'm meant to open the door for you. And you will, basically, she'll introduce me to the right people to get me on that path. But I don't know, I just thought, what are the odds that happened tonight? So, and of course, it wasn't a white person, it happened to be a black woman. Which that's now basically maybe the fourth or fifth mentor or person I've encountered of African descent that has shown much more promise to me as far as my journey. So maybe this doesn't apply for everyone, but at least for me, the truth seems to be in Africa. It seems like everything originated there, and they truly have the best answers to healing and practicing magic, and even, skills with women. All of the men I know that have been the best seducers are all black men, and I've learned what I've learned from them. Tariq Nasheed, Mr. Jones, Warren Lance, Rom Wills, even the guys like, that aren't really as good as them to me, like Alpha Male Strategies, Mr. Locario, the like lower tier guys, still have much better information to me than like fucking Coach Corey Wayne, or like fucking RSD Tyler. But that's just my experience, I'll end this video now, but that's just a little story I thought I'd share with you guys.